Experience is right. Francie and I have been involved in the Carol Springs ministry over 20 years. And this last one was really special for us. But there are 4 yards at Donovan, and with roughly 800 or 1,000 prisoners each yard. And this is the first time they have, it's an international ministry, but this is the only one that has had anywhere near the number. They had 4 Kairos simultaneous going on this weekend. So, and this was special to Francie and I because my wife used to work in the prison ministry too for several years. And then it's an international organization and they set the rules and regulations up. And they didn't want women working anymore, so she wasn't allowed to work, or with many other women. But while we were there, we met a special prisoner to us, and he was a committed Christian and had bad background, but he was a wonderful man, and he's the only prisoner that Francie and I have ever invited to our house. We invited for Thanksgiving dinner. And one of the problems at the prison is they had a water pipe blow up in the yard, one of the 4 yards, yard A. The floor blew up and it even damaged the ceiling. So it took them over 3 years to get it back in condition. And that was the prison, yard A was the one Charlie was in. So he sent out and called us, and he had permission to go back into the prison. And he'd been there a couple of years working and volunteering, doing different things on the Kairos weekends. So he'd had such a good record that the warden approved him to be in charge this weekend. So he contacted as many as he could of the people that he knew when he was a prisoner. So it was very meaningful to us and Francie, and so we were excited. And then he had a number of old timers there that had worked. It was number 9 when we were there and first met Charlie, and this one was number 127. So we were excited about going, and we weren't let down at all with the men we knew that had been volunteers before. Several of them had been out for a few years, but they came back. And one man had been going down to the prison almost every month, at least once a month, to maintain contact with the prisoners in Yard A. Now the chapel was out, but he would go down and meet with them, and because former prisoners that have been through the Kairos weekend help out on the weekend. So they need about 20 normally, and he maintained that relationship with the men because for 3 years they didn't have any relationship with Kairos, but he was really committed to that. So he was one of the men on the weekend. Very excited about being back there, the prison back in Yard A in operation. And it went extremely well. When we first pulled in, there was an ambulance coming down. And we thought, well, that figures because prison is a violent place. And one time, only one time I worked in Yard C, which is the worst yard in the state, I believe, if not at the one of the worst. And the prisoners have terrible records. And we worked on one weekend, and then the next weekend, some of the volunteers couldn't come back for the next 4 days because they had work, but they had a minor riot, and so they postponed it for 1 week. So we filled in the next time, and somebody asked me at the church, I might have mentioned this before, they said, well, how was the weekend? And I said, it was great. I said, I was at a table with 6 of the finest men you'd ever want to be with. And they were cooperative, respectful, and they were, I thought, the finest men you'd ever want to meet. They're so considerate and thankful to be involved in the church on the weekend. And also they give a lot of cookies, so they appreciate the cookies. In fact, that's why the reason a lot of them show up. They're not all Christians by any means. But by the time they leave, after 4 days, it's amazing what happens. They have a series of TED Talks and discussion at the table. And the theme of the weekends are listen, listen, love, love. And Scott Peck wrote psychiatrist, a wonderful psychiatrist. If you haven't read it, it's a wonderful book, The Road Less Traveled. And he said, once he was as a psychiatrist, he said, once in a while I'd feel frustrated because I'm supposed to listen to these people, and they pay a lot of money for it, and I took my mind would goes off. And he said, and I'd be concerned, and I'd apologize. And it never bothered any of them. He said, people, the clients were so happy to have me listening to them, because he said, that's one of the reasons they were there to see me, because some people have never had anybody ever listen to them. Listening is a skill, which they focused on in Toastmasters. But we had the weekend, and one of the most impressive talks, and I heard he was going to be there, was real happy about that. And he's a Roman Catholic, and he'd been abused by his priest, and sexually abused, and he had been his mentor and his coach, and he just really respected the man. And he said, he ruined my childhood, he said. And not only that, he said, as an adult, he said, I had the wrong relationship with my kids and my wife, and he said, I was so frustrated and bitter about that, that he said that I had some counseling myself, and they said, you need to go back and talk to that priest. So he did. He said he went up to LA and talked to him, and the fellow was the priest was just arrogant and was just disdainful of what he had to say. He said, but it cleared my conscience, and life has been better. But that's one of the biggest problems with the prisons, is so many of these prisoners have been abused sexually and physically, and so many of them are foster children, have been foster children. And we have a terrible system of foster children, the abuses they have. But it was an amazing weekend. And one of the nice things about Charlie being a former prisoner is that the prisoners really could relate to him. There was no question about what kind of a guy he was coming in from the outside. They knew and respected him right away. He'd been in about 7 or 8 years. And we knew him all the time he was in prison. Just a fine man. And now he's devoted his life pretty much to going back in and visiting the prisoners and doing what he can. So the time is up. I could go on, but I